Hello everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome to the home and hub of the Vampire Amazon Challenge in The Sims 4. If you have no clue what this challenge is, it's basically a legacy playstyle where you try to keep a matriarchal society alive for as many generations as possible. The goal is to have female offspring and for a different father to sire every child. I have a long history with the Vampire Amazon Challenge. It's where my channel started and I'm so grateful for the way it's grown. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's stuck by me these past 7 years, and for all those familiar viewers who once again got excited when I said I'm bringing this back. In my first run-through of the Vampire Amazon Challenge, I got through 6 generations before I decided to call it quits, and that was almost 2 years ago. I honestly thought I wouldn't revisit this ever again, but recently I had the sudden urge to start it all over again. Except this time, our brand new Vampire Amazon Legacy has a new set of rules which builds on a lot of things I enjoyed from the original series and introduces some new things as well. I honestly hope you guys enjoy the new stories we'll make with these ladies. I find that I tend to play things on the channel I can't find anywhere else. I usually have very specific urges to watch something, and if I can't find a creator that lets me binge as much as I want of that, I have to create it for myself. For that reason, a lot of you might have noticed that I typically don't like following challenges or using lore that's written by someone else. The Vampire Amazon Challenge is an exception, of course, and even then I've taken a lot of liberties with it to create the version I'm most happy with. I'm sorry if I'm rambling your ear off, but I had to get this off my chest. I just really missed this series and I really missed you guys. But okay, let's get into the game. I'll try and keep this as concise as possible. Welcome to the Queendom of Cloudy Willow and the Vampire Inner Court. This will be the heart of our story where our queen resides alongside her most trusted nobles. The coven is small for now, but it will grow with the birth of their children and through the generations as ladies of previous queens leave the court to live in retirement. I want to start off with introducing our ladies, but I think I'll do this in cast because we'll get a clearer look at them. Queen Darling Cloudysnarl is our founder and beloved monarch. She's all about mischief and has a bit of a difficult personality. Her traits are unflirty, athletic, and non-committal. Within this world, vampires have been living in the fringes for far too long, and Queen Darling herself was from a family of humble woodcutters who traded wood for plasma fruit to get by. But one day she had a dream in which a she-cat led her to a fountain in the forest. After drinking from the fountain, she let go of her past and found new clarity under the she-cat's guidance. This creature, known as Cloudysnarl, became her bloodline deity, and Darling took the cat's name as her last name. The deity guided her to proclaim herself queen and establish a vampire queendom in an unclaimed part of the world. Darling named this realm Cloudy Willow and set about building her new court. Vampires from all over the land came to help with the construction of the new castle, empowered now that they finally had a leader to rally under. In terms of genetics, she's got brown hair, blue-gray eyes, and some freckles. Lady Akira Darkpounce is our first noble lady. She wants to collect all the curious things in life and has a social personality. Her traits are self-assured, jealous, and romantic. Lady Akira was originally from a family of farmers who kept themselves under disguise in human lands and farmed the strange plasma fruit needed for their people to survive. Guided by her bloodline deity, Darkpounce, she met the Queen once Queen Darling came into power and was recruited into the Vampire Inner Court. In terms of genetics, she has black hair and purple eyes. Lady Miko Gracewipe is our second noble lady. She is all about romance and has a friendly personality. Her traits are neat, good, and party animal. Lady Miko was from a family of hunters who caught little rabbits and small animals in the fringes of human society. They were always secretive in their work, and others of their kind had a healthy respect for the food and blood they procured. Guided by her bloodline deity, Gracewipe, she gifted the queen a rabbit and was recruited into the vampire inner court. In terms of genetics, she has black hair and dark blue eyes. Lady Billy Gloucester is our third noble lady. She wants to be a friend of the world, but has an odd, slightly prickly personality. Her traits are goofball, loner, and mean. Lady Billy was from a family of masons and in close contact with humans. Their vampiric strength played a huge part in their reputation for procuring the best stone, and yet the people they traded with had no idea. Guided by her bloodline deity, Gloucester, she gifted the queen the castle's first brick and supplied the rest for its construction. She was then recruited into the vampire inner court. In terms of genetics, she has black hair and bright blue eyes. Lady Anaya Neostar is our fourth and final noble lady. She wants to be a painter extraordinaire, known for documenting the first generation of the inner court, and has an artistic personality. Her traits are art lover, music lover, and romantic. Lady Anaya was from a family of miners who gathered and sold precious metals to the humans. They were known for having access to the purest metal veins, and they guarded this secret jealously. Guided by her bloodline deity, Neostar, she offered to share knowledge of her family's mines and fund the creation of the Queen's castle. She was then recruited into the vampire inner court. In terms of genetics, she has light brown hair and turquoise eyes. Now we're going to take a closer look at the Google document I have with our new 2.0 Vampire Amazon rule set. You can skip ahead of this section if you want. I'll have a link to the Google Doc in the video description so you can check it out on your own time. But for those of you sticking around, this is going to give us all a really good understanding of how the game's going to work and probably answer a whole lot of questions you guys are going to have. So we have premise, roles, court life, judgment, which includes death and exile, breeding, succession, marriages, and religion that we are going to cover. This is a 5-page document, so you're going to need a little bit of patience, but I'll try not to ramble too long, and that's exactly why we have this. I'm literally just going to read what I've got written out, and I've tried to make it as clear as possible. Okay, starting off with the premise. The premise of the Vampire Amazon Challenge is to create and maintain the bloodlines of a matriarchal society headed by a queen and her ladies. Within this playstyle, female offspring are desired more than male offspring, and males can only be bred once, meaning every pregnancy has a different father. Now onto the roles. The vampire inner court is made up of a queen, her counselors, noble ladies, princesses, and young dames. Political relationships are very important because they have a huge impact on whether a vampire lasts in court or even survives it. The queen. This is the monarch of the queendom and the vampire who has the most influence in decision making. She is the head of the household and the bearer of the crown. Counselors. The inner court has 2 counselors at all times to advise the queen in matters of state. They change every season depending on who has the highest relationship with the queen and are chosen from among the queen's noble ladies. Noble ladies. Immortal vampires not of royal blood fall into this category. They serve the queen and counselors in court while trying to expand and maintain their own bloodlines. Princesses. These are the female offspring of the monarch and the only ones capable of inheriting the crown. They begin participating in court life as teens and can be voted in as counselors once they become immortal. They can serve in the inner court under their mother's reign, however they cannot take part in breeding. Dames. These are the female offspring of the noble ladies. They begin participating in court life as teens and become an official noble lady once they're immortal. They can begin serving in court alongside their mothers as a noble lady, as well as participate in breeding. Now we're moving on to court life. Life in the inner court is all about making good relationships and gaining influence. Influence points give weight to voting power when it comes to matters of life and death. Influence points start off at 0 and are distributed in the following way. So we have our base influence for everyone and then a different amount of bonus points based on their roles. So the queen gets 3 bonus points, the counselors get 2 bonus points, the crown princess gets 2 bonus points, noble ladies, princesses, and dames get 1 bonus point. Influence accumulates over a lifetime and is gained or lost from major events. Bonus points are allocated according to a vampire's role. And if you guys are wondering how I'm keeping track of all of this, this is not something kind of shown on camera or in the videos, but I do have a spreadsheet that I use to track my Sims behind the scenes. And that's what I'm going to be using when I am noting down like their influence and I'm, calculating all their numbers. That's what I'm doing. So, as we're playing with our ladies and going through the series, I'm also doing a whole lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that I'm aware of how much influence everyone has. Okay, influence can be gained in the following events. The birth of a girl gives +1 influence. Birth of twin girls is +2. Birth of triplet girls is +3. So basically, for every girl born, you get +1 influence. Winning a tournament gives you +1 influence, and I mean being like the victor of the entire tournament. The one person, not winning a battle. No, winning the whole tournament gets you +1 influence. And then marriage between female vampires gives you a +1 influence as well. In the event of multiple babies where the gender is mixed, only influence gained from any girls will be counted. So if we end up having, for example, triplets, and we have 1 girl but 2 boys, if girls are more important, it doesn't make sense for the birth of that girl to be overshadowed by the fact that she had 2 brothers and that 2 baby boys were born at the same time, because if we counted the gain from the girl but the minus from the 2 boys, then you get up, like the mother ends up having -1 influence from the whole thing, but then it feels like, why wasn't the girl's birth celebrated? So if there is like multiple babies, or if there are multiple babies and we have a mix of boys and girls, we won't get an influence loss from having the boys born. We'll only count the influence gained from a girl being born. Influence can be lost in the following events. So the birth of a boy results in -1 influence. Birth of twin boys is -2 and triplets is -3. So it's the same as the girl. For every girl born, you get +1 influence. For every boy that is born, you get -1 influence. Exiles get -1 influence. You might think that being exiled is serious enough that you should have kind of more of a loss when it comes to your influence points, but I kind of figured that if you get exiled, the influence won't matter because you won't be in the court to use your influence. And if you do end up coming back from exile, then you should be able to participate in politics in some way, because to a degree you were forgiven by the queen in order to be brought back from exile. So I left it at -1 influence because there's going to be a stigma attached to you if you come back from exile, but if the queen's forgiven you, then it shouldn't be such a big stigma that you can't function in court. And then divorce between female vampires results in -1 influence. Now on to judgment, which is pertaining to death and exile, and this is like the main part of the new system that I've created, which I'm very excited about, because it touches on a few things that I never really got to explore when I did Vampire Amazon beforehand. So within the inner court, having enemies is dangerous. A vampire can call judgment on their enemy and have them killed or exiled from the queendom. Only the queen and counselors have this right and can call judgment on a noble lady, princess, or dame that is their enemy. So yes, teenagers are counted within this. During a judgment, every member of the court must cast their vote for either death or exile. This is determined by whether they have a red or green relationship bar with the vampire being judged. A red bar or negative relationship means a death vote, and a green bar or positive relationship means an exile vote. No relationships having a 0 means the court member abstains from voting. This is where influence comes into play. Each court member's vote is counted according to their influence points. The more influence a vampire has, the more their vote weighs. The vampire being judged can use their influence to make an argument for exile. Their influence will be counted among the exile votes. Once all the votes are tallied up, the judgment will either decide on a death or an exile. If the voting results in a tie, the judgment will be postponed till the next season, which is 4 weeks later. This is in hopes that loyalties or influence across the court will change enough to make a deciding vote. If a vampire is exiled, they cannot return to the queendom under the same monarch that exiled them. However, they may be called back to court under a future queen. The vampire in a court is female-centric and thus values female marriages. If a female vampire marries a male vampire, they face an automatic judgment. Both parties are either killed or exiled depending on the judgment's decision. If a married couple is exiled, they may be allowed back into the queendom under a different ruler, but they will have to get divorced as a condition of their re-entry. Now on to breeding. Pregnancies are big events in the inner court and regulated heavily by the queen. Each male can only be used for one conception for genetic variability. Pregnancies occur within the breeding season, which begins with the birth of the queen's first child and ends with the birth of the 5th baby girl. Breedings occur one at a time from the oldest to youngest immortal vampire, with the queen beginning and being every pregnancy in between. As an example, the order would work in the following way. We'd have queen, immortal vampire number 1, queen, immortal vampire number 2, queen, immortal vampire number 3, queen, immortal vampire number 4. And this basically keeps going, depending on how many ladies you have. I choose to play or start off with 4. And this is obviously going to increase as the ladies have daughters, their daughters grow up and their daughters join court, and their daughters participate in breeding and all of that. I think I've already established that when the noble ladies' daughters, the dames, when they grow up into noble ladies, they can actually join the breeding lineup under the current queen. They don't have to wait till the next generation. They can join the breeding cycle and participate in breeding, but the princesses can't. So the breeding cycle repeats once you reach the end until the 5th baby girl is born. Dames who age up into noble ladies can be added to the breeding order. Like I said, princesses cannot participate in breeding to prevent future contenders for the throne. The vampire inner court, and this is why, what I'm about to say next, is why I'm not too worried about having the breeding order I currently do, which is giving the queen way more chances to have children. And it's also why I'm not worried about only having 5 baby girls and ladies potentially missing out on having a pregnancy. I'm not worried because of this concept of fluid court. So the vampire inner court is a fluid court, which means that ladies who have not had any children continue to serve under the new queen. So they will go from if you have not had any kids in the current queen's court, you will go from this court to the next queen's court as one of her new ladies. So it's fluid. When a queen steps down from the throne, all ladies who have had children under her reign exit the court with her. So it doesn't matter if you've had a baby girl or a baby boy, or many kids or one kid. If you've had a child under a queen, then you will leave the court with her. You will exit the court with her when she steps down from the crown. If you have served in court but you have not had any kids, then you can continue serving in court under the new queen. Pregnancies are not without its dangers. With every pregnancy, there is a chance of dying from childbirth, which starts off at 1% and increases by 1% for every pregnancy. So a vampire on her 5th pregnancy will have a 5% chance of dying from childbirth. And I thought this was also like an interesting thing to add, especially for our queen, who has like way more chances to breed and get pregnant typically in my Vampire Amazon series than any of the nobles do. So it kind of is a interesting balance that, the more she breeds, the higher her chance of potentially dying from one of these pregnancies. So she's kind of risking her life every single time she decides to have a child. Okay, moving on to succession. Succession occurs when all 5 girls born within the breeding season become immortals. In the case of dead or exiled children, it occurs when the surviving girls become immortals. Succession within the royal family is determined by age. The eldest living daughter of the reigning queen is the crown princess and heir to the throne. The takeover is not violent and is handled peacefully. So I decided to change this from the system I used to have, which is getting all the princesses, like training them till they become masters, and then having them challenge the queen, and whoever kind of wins becomes the next queen. I have changed that system so that now the crown is kind of passed according to age, and I'm going to see how this works out. I feel as though I will enjoy it a little bit more than what I used to have, only because my previous system made it so that we ended up spending like a long time training and trying to get to that, challenging the queen, which yes was fun in its own right, but I remember always towards the end of a season becoming a bit too tired and tedious. Like it ended up feeling a bit tedious, and I would be kind of rushing through it behind the scenes. So I definitely don't want to go through that. I think this is gonna keep the pace of our generations pretty good, because it would be nice if I didn't have to spend a whole year to get through one generation in real life. It would be great if I could get through it a bit fast, and I feel like this is gonna be good, especially because vampires are immortal. Okay, when a new queen takes the throne, the old monarch becomes the queen mother and exits the court with her bred ladies. They're given a place in the castle to live in if you have the For-Rent expansion pack or another lot in the queendom. A queen's sisters cannot serve in the inner court under her reign. They retain their title of princess but join the luxury class of royal family members who live in the castle or another lot, benefiting from their status but not participating in court life. In a way, they are the backups should something happen to the queen and her bloodline. And I kind of decided on this particular change because I feel like in the old Vampire Amazon, we used to put a lot of emphasis on royalty getting all the roles and the queen's sisters kind of staying with her in courts and them breeding, and after a few generations all the noble lines ended up dying off and the royal family ended up kind of saturating the entire court, and we had cadet branches and everything, which is fine, but they were taking up slots that nobility could have had. So I decided to implement this so that we have backup queens should anything happen, but they're not taking over roles that's supposed to belong to nobility. So we'll have kind of the opportunity for fresh blood a lot more than we used to have. If a queen dies while the breeding season is still ongoing but has an underage heir, the oldest member of the luxury class may become regent until succession occurs. However, to protect the royal line, the regent will not be allowed to participate in any breeding. If there is no one in the luxury class, the eldest noble member of court will become regent instead. So, yeah, for this, I don't think I want to make it so that, the closest living relative to the queen or the next in line kind of becomes the queen. I think I still want to put precedent on age and wisdom of the vampires. So like the oldest member of the luxury class, even if it's a royal family member, like from a few generations back, whoever the oldest is, which obviously I'll keep track of in my spreadsheets, they will become regent if this kind of situation occurs. Succession within the noble court is also determined by age. A new queen takes the 4 eldest members of unbred nobility into her new court. Any remaining nobles join the aristocratic class, to be pulled from in the future from oldest to youngest. If there aren't enough nobles to make the 4, and there aren't any members of the aristocratic class, new blood can be introduced. Now we have marriages. Marriages between female vampires are celebrated and monogamous. If a married vampire wishes to marry someone else, they must divorce their current spouse. And I think I'm going to interpret it like if someone has a whim to get married to another vampire, even though they themselves are married, I'm going to take that as them wanting to divorce their current spouse. Like, there will be no polygamy happening over here. It's going to be like marriages are going to be monogamous. A vampire takes their last name from their birth mother, and this does not change with marriage. All parties keep their birth names as bloodlines are traced through female lines and connected to the bloodline deity each family worships. So I kind of talked about this beforehand, but because the last names are basically the names of their bloodline deities, unlike our previous Vampire Amazon challenge, you do not kind of change your last names or connect your last names or come up with a new last name. No. Marriage has nothing to do with your names. You can be married, but you keep the names you were born with. Birth names are pretty much everything. That's the way your lineage is traced, through your mother. And then we have religion. Vampires worship bloodline deities, which take the form of she-cats and watch over the families they are connected to. As respect to their deity, they take the she-cat's name as their last name. I use my Clangen cats for this. If you're unfamiliar with the game, it is completely free to download and play. You can use it to create the cats needed for your bloodline deities. I have a link to where you can download the game in the Google document. And I have basically decided that my own Clangen series that I have, in particular the Luminous Clan series, that is going to be kind of the religious myths of the bloodline deities that you guys see in this series, in the Vampire Amazon series. Like when I was going through our ladies in cast, you kind of saw that they had their bloodline deities on the screen. Those are actual cats that I played in my Luminous Clan series in Clangen, and everything that happened in those videos are going to essentially be the mythical stories of these deities. Okay, let's wrap this up and get a move on. Okay, I think we have all been very patient, and now we want to take a look at the good stuff. We want to see the castle that we will be playing in. So guys, welcome to Darling Castle. I will have this lot uploaded to the gallery. I do have CC, but it is literally only the throne and the rugs that I use in this castle. That is the only CC I have, and I will link it in the description. So if you guys want the castle exactly as I have it, like with those rugs and with that throne, then you can download the CC for yourself. But even if you don't, you'll pretty much still have everything I have here if you have the game packs. The rest of what I used for the castle, it's all game content anyways. So yeah, this time around, I wanted to make sure that, you know, the castle I built could be plopped down in my world in the future, should I no longer have those pieces of CC, because all the older castles I built was very CC heavy, and I can't be bothered, probably like a lot of you, going through and downloading all that CC, and so I can't even use the builds I had in the past, which is why this time around I decided not to do that. But this is Castle Darling, guys. Let's go on in, and actually before we do that, I'ma just sweep around the castle so we can take a look. And I did not even try with landscaping. Like, I know in some of my past castles I have gone all out with landscaping, but honestly guys, I just wanted to get in and play the game. And also, I have a thing for plopping trees down on my roofs. I don't know why. It looks so fantastical, doesn't it? I think it does, at least. And you know what? This is probably because I didn't think it through, but the fact that we are starting off in spring, and for some flippin' reason, I suppose it's because we're coming off of winter, the castle is not going to be at its best. In a couple episodes time, it is going to start like shining and looking gorgeous and brilliant when the trees start flowering and are not dead. But yeah, this is not necessarily the best time to be seeing our castle, but you know, hey, it's fine. Let's go on down and see what exactly we are working with. So, We're going to go through the main portion of the castle and then the attached wing. But this is our little entrance over here. So we come on through. We have a staircase that takes us up to the second floor. To the left is where we have our humble throne room. I'm actually quite happy. It is quaint. It is quite practical. I have seen some very glorious builds from you guys, especially someone I've been watching recently, Ronald the Simmer. He has, I think, a Covenant Legacy challenge, like a witch version of the Amazon Legacy challenge with his own spin to it and a lot of other cool details. But his castle builds, like I was watching while I was, prepping all of this in the background, is wild, is crazy, is so good, and I could never. But I don't have that skill set and patience. I am very practical. I just want to play the game. So yeah, this is our little throne room, but I'm happy. It looks very cute, very cute. And then we do have a portrait of the queen over here. You'll see a few portraits of her scattered throughout the castle. I think there's 4 actually. So when you guys download this build, you'll get those portraits as well. And then we have a little fireplace along with, the throne on the platform over here, a little hallway with some bathrooms we'll get to. There is a kitchen through here, a very small, quaint kitchen, but I figured this would be kind of good for, well, anyone who doesn't want to drink blood or have plasma, or even for the youngsters, any kids living on the lots. Teens might not need it as much, so really the kids and possibly the humans, which we will get to in a second. And then we have our 2 bathrooms down here. We have then this section, like a little hallway that goes into our games room. So there is another portrait of the queen up here. This is our kind of entertainment area, the commons, I suppose you could say. This is kind of our commons. We do have like the bubble blow here, we have an art easel, we have our foosball, our kind of llama game, what is it called? I don't even know what this is called. Like, don't shake the llama, wake the llama? I have no clue what that is called anymore. It has been a long time. Or cards table. Games table, essentially. We have chess over here, we have some bookshelves, places to sit down, and then this, guys, is not a dining room. This is actually our judgment room. Yeah, if you sat through all of the Google document and heard about the judgment, this is essentially the room everyone will come into when it is time to judge someone, and make a decision about whether they're going to be exiled or killed. This is where all of that will take place. So all the court will essentially kind of filter into the judgment room. They'll sit around here and they'll discuss with each other and cast their votes. Okay, and then we're going up to the second floor. So we come up over here. We have this hallway, which I was kind of thinking I would, during parties, kind of put like drinks on the barrels and drinks on this platter with the butler statue, and this would be almost like a tavern-esque sort of, feel to everyone coming to the parties and having all these places to drink from. And then it kind of leads to the ballroom over here. So this is where we have the ballroom with a little bar. We have a fireplace. There is another portrait of the queen up here. And then a little kind of sitting nook right in that corner. And then we kind of sweep around. So this is essentially like, yeah, I would consider this kind of like the ballroom hallway. I have no clue what I would call this. But we do have this, the downstairs is the commons. This would be the entertainment floor, I suppose. Yeah, this would be the entertainment floor. We have some bookshelves up here for, any ball guests, party guests that want to read, a place to sit down. We have a door that kind of leads out to the balcony as well. We have our pipe organ over here. And then we head off to the Queen's chamber. So there is a pipe organ like right outside the Queen's chamber. She's on the second floor. And this is the lovely room of our monarch and queen. So you come inside. She does have a little bathroom here, like with a bathtub and sink. We don't have a toilet because like I couldn't fit one in. So she's just gonna have to use the public ones downstairs, which I think is fine. We do have a bit of a chess table by the window, another portrait of the queen, and I think that pretty much completes all the portraits we have. Sitting spot, her wardrobe, we have her bed, a little bit of a mirror. It's on a nice platform, which is really cute. We do have a fireplace. So there we go, that is essentially the queen's chamber. And then we head upstairs to the birth chamber. So this portion, the third floor, is really teeny tiny, but this is where we will have our babies born in the birth chamber over here. And then we have kind of the waiting room for everyone who's going to be anticipating the birth of the vampire children. So there we go. That's kind of how this particular room looks. And then I think we can head down to the kind of attached wing. So if you come out onto like the veranda over here, it curls around, and we do have kind of a doorway over here, and that's the entrance to this attached wing, and you have the same entrance upstairs as well. So we come through, and this is where we have our indoor pool, kind of like a fitness area almost, and meditation area, wellness area, I suppose you could say. A chess table here, some books for reading, places for lounging. We have our meditation stools. We have this beautiful blood red pool that you can come and swim in, bathe in. And then we have a hallway that takes us to some living quarters for the court ladies, the noble ladies. And then back here is actually going to be a room for one of the faculties. So right now, I just have like our household. It's like one household. This whole castle belongs to us because I needed to show you guys like everything before I start sectioning things off to kind of different households. So I will turn this into like a rental lot because I kind of want to have multiple families or extensions of our court kind of living here, so not just the one household, because I kind of like the idea of our Sims interacting with all these other characters that we don't immediately have and I don't have to keep inviting over. So that's kind of what I want to do. And this faculty downstairs is actually going to be the male faculty. So I'm not going to have a nursery or the creature cradle, as I used to call it, where our babies and toddlers grow up. I think what I'm going to do is have a male and female faculty. So the breeders, the male babies, they go kind of into this room. The female babies, they go into a separate room upstairs, and they will stay there until they're teens. Not even children. I don't know if I want to play with infants. I'll have to see if I have the appropriate CC for them. But if I don't, I might just skip that altogether and stick with, babies, toddlers, children. And this time around, I'm not bringing them into the main household until they're teens. Once they're teens, then they're going to come in because they can participate in court life and it's going to be fun that way. So yeah, this is the male faculty. This will be sectioned off. And this is where all of our breeders and male children are going to live. Jeez. And then let's go upstairs. So we have the upstairs portion, which can be accessed from the kind of upstairs balcony and veranda. It's got like a similar situation going on. You come through. This over here is actually going to be our sparring room, our battle room, our training room of sorts, where our Sims can practice, or ladies can practice their vampiric fights. They can practice their sword fighting. We do have archery outside, which I'll show you guys. And actually, I'm thinking that I might have 3 kinds of tournaments. I know we are no longer getting the younger generation to, the princesses, to challenge their mother for the throne, so we won't get a lot of chances to see the vampiric fights. Instead, what I'm thinking is that I will have 3 different kinds of tournaments where everyone can kind of show off their skills. So they would be practicing for the tournaments, because the tournaments are a big deal, and that's a way we can get influence. The victor gets influence, and I might have a different tournament in each season. So in one season we might have a vampiric tournament where we do vampiric fights. We might have a sword fighting tournament in another season and an archery tournament in another season. And then the second half of the wing is kind of the same as what we had downstairs, with 2 living quarters for court members, and then we have the female faculty back here. So this is where our female is going to be. Actually, I cannot remember. I think this was our male faculty, actually. I mixed it up. My bad. Yeah, this might be the male faculty, and then we might have the female faculty at the bottom. I think that's what I decided because I figured that the female faculty should be closer to the throne room, like on the same floor as all the kind of main activities happening, and the male faculty can kind of be at the top because it's the furthest away from like the hub, which is the throne room and this floor. So yeah, I might end up doing that. So back with the veranda, it wraps around back here and you come through. We have this particular section with the archery targets. So this is where our Sims can practice their archery. It is actually roofed, so it is roofed. It is roofed. Where's my roof? Guys, I don't know what is happening with my roof. I swear I had like a glass roof over here. I have put it in twice and it has disappeared on me twice. I don't know what's going on with this. It's kind of freaking me out. Well, I guess I'll try and put it back in. Anyways, that is supposed to have a roof and be covered so our vampires don't die. And then we have this path that takes us to this little room of sorts. Now this is a very special room because this is where, take me down, this is where our acolytes, our human acolytes are going to live. What do I mean by human acolytes? Well, the vampires need to have a source of food, right? They need to drink blood or plasma in some way from somewhere. And I kind of figured that after the vampires established their queendom and revealed themselves, because they were kind of living in secret before this point, the humans, or at least some fanatical humans, started revering the vampires and worshipping them, and they kind of gave themselves to the queen to be fed from, because they think that that is their way of kind of worshipping these gods, these superior creatures that have revealed themselves within the human world. So this is where the acolytes are going to be living. And if you're wondering about why I did not bother to build like apartments, like proper apartments for them, it's because I am actually thinking that I will make basically the whole castle a public area. So all of this that we just saw will be public areas. The only things that I will section off are the rooms. So for example, in the main household that we play, the queen's chamber, and then the 4 living quarters I showed over here, like these 2 upstairs and the ones downstairs, they are going to be a part of our household. Everything else is going to be public space that everyone can share, and hopefully that encourages the different parts of our court to mingle. And then we'll have the male faculty with their own bedroom, the female faculty with their own bedroom, the acolytes with their own bedroom. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm planning right now to section things off. But there we go, guys. That is all we have for the castle, how things look. I am excited to get into their stories and, you know, to play them out. I really missed being with my Vampire Amazon ladies, and I'm kind of happy to be able to kind of restart, have a brand new legacy, and do things with all the improvements that I have made to the systems I had in place before. And, you know, with the new things like the judgments, I'm excited. Like before we had, you know, council members voted in. That was something I introduced in Vampire Amazon, but I don't feel like they ever really had much consequence to their role. Like being a council member didn't actually, like within the story you're supposed to have influence, but it doesn't, like in the old system, it didn't really give weight to anything. But with the whole idea of judgments, you can kind of see why the court ladies would want to become a council member, because being a council member not only gives you bonus influence while you're a council member, you also have the right to call judgment. Like who wouldn't want that power? Especially if you have like enemies. You wouldn't want your enemy to be a council member, because that means you're going to be, you know, you're going to be judged. There's going to be a judgment called on you. And there's a lot of stakes. We will have princesses. Another thing, like previously with princesses, they didn't really have any consequences per se. Like there was really no way, especially in later generations, for them to kind of start dying. But things are different. Like a princess, yes, the firstborn is crown princess, but if she is very unpopular, then she could have a judgment called on her. She could be exiled, or she could be killed, and then the secondborn would become the next crown princess. So there's a lot of potential drama that could happen with this new system. And with the queen, she's supposed to have the most influence. She has plus, like, everyone starts off at 0 influence, and then they have to gain influence, right? They have their bonus points, but that's it. The queen does start off with the most influence. She's got 3 right now. But if she, for example, keeps having sons, and it keeps going that way, she could lose her influence points. And we might end up in a situation where we have a puppet queen on the throne, essentially, that has no say, like no weight in any of the voting, and other members of her court have way more influence and are much stronger, and are the ones kind of pulling her strings. I think that would be very interesting. And I feel like under this situation, actually being friends and enemies matters a lot more, especially for teenagers, like getting, the court members on your side, especially for like princesses and stuff. It all matters so much more, because if you don't have friends, you're going to be voted to die, essentially. Like, you won't have a chance at exile because you need friends to fight that case for you. If you have too many enemies, you could end up dying, all of these kind of stuff. Or if you have bad relationships, it doesn't have to be an enemy, but if you have like a red bar with someone and someone else calls a judgment on you, then all the people who have red bars for you will vote for your death, not for your exile. It's kind of crazy. And also I'm excited for the pregnancy of our ladies, because there is a chance for them to die in childbirth, especially the queen. Like I mentioned when I was reading the document, it is, I feel like, a bit of a balance to increase the chance of dying in childbirth by 1% with every pregnancy, because I have had queens in the past have like 7 children, so that would, like, every child you have increases the chance of you dying. I'm excited. There's so many things I'm excited about, guys. But let me know what all of you thought about everything, like the queen, all the ladies, our new rules, the castle. I just want to know what you guys think. And for those of you who are new or have returned, thank you for watching through the whole video. If you have, I hope you stick around, because I think we're gonna have a whole lot of fun, and I'm kind of excited to see what we're gonna get up to next. But okay, guys, with that said and done, I am going to leave off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.